why you have to fight by yourself. Not too long ago, I had a dream, and in the dream, I was working with the police, and we was going to a house where there were criminals, and we were going to raid this house and catch these criminals. And as I've been thinking about this dream and trying to understand it, it came to me that we as Christians, we are like police in the spiritual realm. We clean up the streets from spiritual criminal activity. We expose the enemy. And that's why the enemy hates us, because we are always exposing them. And in this dream, we start to raid the house and everyone starts to run out into the streets, and I run towards a patch of grass, and there were loads of kids there. And these kids were children to these criminal experts. And they had been learning criminality from birth. And it was all they knew. They were just evil. And I stood there and I guarded them whilst the other police chased after the other criminals. And as I was there, one of these children began to hit me again and again. And in the end, I grabbed his arm the way police do, and I took him to the ground and I held him there. And as I held him there, another boy came. But this time he pulled out a weapon, and I grabbed the weapon and I took it. And then he pulls out another weapon and I grab it again and I take it from him. And then another person comes and points a weapon towards me, and I grab this weapon and I take it. And I've got these weapons and I put the weapons under my bum, and I'm holding this other guy on the ground. And I realize that my hands are full. I can't do anymore. And there's other kids and I'm surrounded, and I quickly realize I need backup. And so I grab my walkie-talkie and I say, back up, give me backup, I need backup. And as I say that, the picture in the dream changes, and I see the inside of a police car, and I see two men there, I see two policemen there, and they hear me say, back up. And when they hear that, they start to drive. But they drive about 5 meters, and then they stop. They stop. And I'm saying, back up, give me backup. But they're not driving. And I'm there with these criminals. And I'm saying, back up. But in the end, I realize they ain't coming. They ain't coming. I'm on my own, and the fight is hot, and I'm overwhelmed, and I don't know what to do. What do you do when you're left to fight on your own, and the fight is hot, and you are overwhelmed? What do you do? Let's look to Jesus. Before Jesus is taken in the garden, he asked his disciples to pray and watch with him. Jesus, he says to his disciples, he says, my soul is very sad and deeply grieved, so that I am almost dying of sorrow. Stay here and keep awake and keep watch with me. You see, Jesus now, he's in agony. He's sweating drops of blood. You see, when you're struggling, when you're in pain, when you're in agony, when the battle is hot and overwhelming, that's when you want people praying for you. That's when you want people watching with you. Can you pray with me? Jesus is saying, can you pray with me? Can you be with me? Basically, he's saying, back up. Can you guys give me backup? I need backup right now. But they couldn't give him backup. They couldn't stay awake. They slept. And Jesus was left by himself. He had to pray by himself. He had to fight this one on his own. I'm asking this question. Do we have that kind of strength where we can continue to pray even though everyone else is sleeping? I'm not asking if you can pray hard when you're in church, when there's many people, or when you're in a prayer meeting and everyone else is praying. I'm asking, can you pray by yourself? Can you pray in a secret place? Can you pray whilst everyone else is sleeping? Can you pray while no one else is there? Can you fight on your own? Why must we sometimes learn to fight on our own? I believe it is because God wants to take us through a time of transformation where we become completely dependent on God. Let me share a testimony of when I biked from my hometown, Northampton, to Barcelona. Between 2010 and 2011, I believe, I was asked if I wanted to join two other people biking from Northampton to Barcelona, and I was like, yeah, sure. These two guys, they kind of knew how they would do it. They would get a charity, they would find the way there, the routes there, and I would just be this extra person. We had about a year to kind of prepare for this, and a few months into that year, one of the guys says, sorry guys, I can't come. I've got a job now. So then it was just the two of us, and I began to step up and prepare myself more. Around 1 to 3 months before the bike ride, the other guy gives me a call and says, sorry, I can't go. You're on your own. And so I'm on my own now. And I've never read a roadmap in my life. And I buy this sat-nav, this computer that would show me how I would get there. And I'd have this sat-nav on my bike and it would show me turn by turn how I would get to Barcelona. And so I prepared myself and I'm checking this computer the day before I go on my bike. And as I'm on this computer, all of a sudden, with no warning, it dies. It died. It was brand new and it just died. No reason. And I'm left there. And the only way I could make it to Barcelona would be to print out from Google Maps the route, and I would follow the instructions step by step, and I would hold the handlebar with my left hand and hold Google Maps in my right hand, and I would take one turn at a time. 12,000 miles by myself. Let me tell you something, the loneliness transformed my life. It transformed my mind. Learning how to fight by myself, learning how to navigate by myself day by day, learning how to trust in God each day, learning how to fend for myself, it transformed me. The process by myself transformed me. You see, if I had went with the other two guys, I would have never learned how to trust God for myself. I would have trusted in the people. You see, God knew that I would soon leave England to go to Sweden. He knew the future, but he knew that my mind needed to be transformed in order to leave everything behind, in order to do something completely different. My mind needed to be transformed, and so I needed to do that by myself. You see, David's battles with the lion and the bear on his own transformed him. It prepared him and it transformed him. If every time the bear came and the lion came and David ran to his dad for help, he would have never learned how to fight by himself. He would have never built up the courage to fight Goliath. Why was David the only one who dared to fight Goliath? I believe one of the reasons is because he learned how to fight in secret. Those battles by himself transformed him, so that when it was time to battle in public, he was ready. It was a time of preparation, a time of transformation. Jesus needed to fight this battle on his own. He was going through a transformation where he would soon crush the enemy. Just like David crushed Goliath, he would crush Satan, where he would come out with all power in heaven and on earth. He was going through a process. He was going through a transformation. This is make or break. To truly see what your faith is built upon. When those hard times come, when you're on your own, you quickly see what your faith is built on. Is my faith built on mum and dad's faith? Is my faith built on my friends in the church? Is my faith built on community? What happens when my friends leave? What happens when it's a lockdown? What happens when mum and dad's not there? This is when we quickly realize what our faith is built on. What happens when it's quarantine and I'm sick and I'm on my bed and no one can visit me? What is my faith built on? This is something we need to learn. How do we fight when no one else is around to help us? How do we fight when no one can visit us? How do we fight on our own? The truth is, if you truly want to see transformation in your life, you're gonna have to learn to fight certain battles by yourself. We can stand there and wait for others to follow, which may never happen. Or we can go that extra bit by ourselves, like Jesus did. He went on by himself. He left his disciples and he went on by himself. Moses, he had to go on by himself, seek God for himself. Sometimes you're going to have to leave people and seek God for yourself. There can come times when everyone has left you, everyone is against you, no one agrees with you, no one is with you, and you're going to have to learn to get before God by yourself and encourage yourself in the Lord like David did. When everyone was against him, when no one wanted to listen to him, when everyone hated him, he got before God and encouraged himself, strengthened himself in the Lord. Can we get to that point where when everyone else has left us, we can still get before God, pray to God, read the Bible, and be encouraged? We don't hear much of this. Being alone, sorrowful, heavy-hearted, to the point of death. Often get told not to think like this. Look at Jesus, our prime example. He's saying he's sorrowful to the point of death. This is Jesus speaking. He's sweating drops of blood. We read in Isaiah 53, talking about Jesus. It says he was despised and rejected and forsaken by men. Basically, he was alone. He was rejected, despised, forsaken. He was alone. A man of sorrows and pains, and acquainted with grief and sickness. Jesus, a man of sorrows and pains. He knew what it was like to grieve, to be sick, and one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised, and we did not appreciate his worth or have any esteem for him. This is Jesus, King Jesus, our prime example, role model. He was a man of sorrows, pains, grief, sickness. You see, we love the example of Jesus, that he came and suffered and died to redeem us back with God, but we don't want to live that kind of life. We don't talk about these things. We don't want to be a man of sorrows. pains and grief and sickness. We don't want that. But that was Jesus. You see, Jesus was going through a process, a transformation that was hard and heavy. But he endured it. Why? He endured it for the joy set before him. He knew that if he could endure it, if he could go through the pain and suffering and hold on, he would come out with the keys of hell, with all power in heaven and on earth, and redeem man back to God. You see, the enemy knows this. This is why he'll try and stop the process of transformation. And he'll use anyone and anything to stop this. And mostly, he'll use those that are closest to us, because those that are closest to us are the ones that we will listen to more. Satan also done this with Peter. You see, Jesus was telling them that he was going to die and suffer. And Peter took him aside to speak to him privately and began to reprove and charge him sharply, saying, "God forbid, Lord, this must never happen to you." Basically, Peter's saying, no, you're not going to die. You're not going to suffer. You're not going to rise again. You're not going to redeem man with God. It's not happening, Jesus. And Jesus, he responds to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." He's talking to Satan now. You see, sometimes we can get affected by Satan. Sometimes we get affected by unclean spirits, and we speak things out that are not the will of God. Jesus says, "You are in my way." An offense and a hindrance and a snare to me. You're in my way. You're not speaking the will of God. You're speaking something else. You're trying to stop me going through my process. You're trying to stop me going through my transformation. Get behind me. You're in my way. You see, people can talk us out of our transformation. This happened to me 3 times before I rode to Barcelona. I was either told not to go, or I was discouraged to go. "Don't go, Albie. You're not strong enough. You're going to faint. Don't do it. Wait for me. You can do it with me." You see, if I had listened to those voices, I would have never received the transformation of the mind that has brought me here. You see, Peter and the other disciples, they were not on the same level as Jesus. When Jesus was talking about his death, they are discussing who is the greatest in heaven. You see, they never truly understood what Jesus was telling them. So Jesus, he has to go on alone. No one understanding him, no one supporting him. People discouraging him. So he's got to go on by himself. How do you continue to fight when you're on your own? Where does the strength come from to continue? And how do you stay encouraged when no one else is encouraging you? I believe in those times of loneliness and rejection, God in his loving kindness and mercy, he uses outside sources to strengthen us. And I've seen this time and time again in my own life, when there's no one else to support me or encourage me or strengthen me. That's when God strengthens me from outside sources and builds me up and helps me to continue. You see, when all had abandoned Jesus and left him struggling to continue on his own, that's when an angel appeared and strengthened him, gave him the strength and the courage to continue. You see, God is the one who gives us the strength to continue, and he will not leave us comfortless. It was the same for Elijah when he was in hiding by himself. We see in 1 Kings 17, Elijah is by himself, is hungry, and what does God do? He says, "I have commanded the ravens to feed you there." You see, Elijah, he was by himself, he's got no food, he's hungry, he needs help, and there's no one else to help him. What does God do? He commands the birds to feed him. The same kind of thing in 1 Kings 19 with Elijah. Elijah is by himself and he's depressed, he's down, and it says that he asks that he might die. He said, "It is enough now. O Lord, take away my life." He's depressed, he wants to die, he's had enough, and he's hungry. And what does God do? It says an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." And so he ate. And then the angel of the Lord came the second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat." And we see that Elijah went in the strength of that food 40 days and nights. You see, when Elijah was hiding and alone and hungry, God sent the birds to strengthen him. When he was close to giving up, God sent the angel and gave him strength to continue. When Jesus was alone and abandoned, God sent an angel to strengthen him. God in his grace and mercies will give us the strength to continue if we hold on. This is all like the process of a baby to a man. Learning how to walk. You see, if the parents never let go of that child, the child will never truly learn how to be independent, never truly know how to fend for themselves, never truly learn how to fight their own battles. See, sometimes if we truly want to grow in our faith and become stronger, we are going to need those alone times, trusting purely on God, no one else. So why can there be times when you have to fight by yourself? The truth is, you'll never truly experience life-changing transformations until you learn how to seek God for yourself. Until you can put all your trust in God and not man. Until you learn how to fight on your own. The way Jesus did, the way Elijah did, the way Joseph did, the way David did. They learn how to fight on their own. They learn how to seek God for themselves. They learn how to go that extra bit even though everyone else is sleeping or they've been abandoned or they've been rejected. They kept on going. They were seeking God for themselves. The question is, are you willing to fight for that transformation? Are you willing to fight by yourself for that breakthrough? The way Jesus did.